Hi all, a very good afternoon to you. I am Anne Matthew and I bring you this session on gardening equipment and tools. And this session is brought to you by Nursery Life, your friend in need for all your gardening needs. So let's get started. Now all the tools that you will see and all the pots that you will see in this session will be available on Nursery Life, so you can go and check out. If you've not heard of them, they are a seller that deal in a lot of plant and plant related products, and they ship all across India. So you can definitely go and check them out after this session. So let's get started. Now today we're talking about tools. Tools are essential in gardening because they make work a little bit easy. So today we'll just look at a few tools and we will understand how to use them, and we will talk about them a little bit, and by the end of the session hope you understand how you can use tools in your indoor gardening. So I'll move the camera down and I will start talking about the various tools that you can use. Okay, so I think you can see right here. So the first tools that we will talk about are trowels. Okay, so these are transplanting and digging trowels, and you can see how they look. They are very useful, especially in home gardening. These are handheld ones that are comfortable when you are doing container gardening or gardening inside your house. Now these come in two types of materials, that is plastic, like this one. This is plastic and this is in metal, okay, with a plastic handle or a wooden handle. Now these plastic ones are lightweight and easy to use, easy to wash, they won't rust, and they are not as sharp and sturdy or durable as the metal ones, but each of these has their own purpose. So you can select, either have both of them or you can select either one, whichever suits your gardening needs. Now what are trowels used for? They are mainly used for moving small amounts of soil, okay, and filling in pots and all that. Okay, so you can scoop up soil like this, you can move it from one place to the other, you can use it for digging slightly or loosening up the soil as well, or even it is used very well to mix up soil. So these tools are effective for digging, moving and mixing soil. You can also use this to apply fertilizers around your pot. Okay, so these are extremely useful and important, I would say, in indoor gardening. So these are one set of tools that we just spoke about. They're called trowels. Okay, now the next one that I will show you is called a cultivator, a seed cultivator. Okay, so these can be used, they are pretty sharp, they have a forked look like this, they're metal, they're sturdy and they have sharp ends, so they're extremely good for digging, okay, and loosening the soil around your plant to aerate the soil of the plant. Okay, so they are also used to de-weed and remove the weeds out in vegetable beds. Okay, also these cultivators can be used to plant seeds. You can make holes in the soil, or if you have a vegetable bed, you can simply make the rows that are usually made to plant your seeds. Okay, so these are good for these purposes also. It acts as a mini plow to make planting rows. Okay, so this is a cultivator. This is another tool that you can use. Now let's move on to the next one. This is a khurpa or a spud, you call it a spud in English. Now this is used for digging. Again, it has a wide base and it is made of metal. It's sturdy, it's got a good grip handle, and what you can do is you can dig with this and you can also lift soil. It's good for lifting, digging and lifting. So if you are working in the garden where you need a tool like this, this is quite helpful. Okay, now we move on to the next tool. This is a pruning secateur. Okay, so you can call it a pruning shear, you can call it a pruning secateur. Now I would say these tools are very essential, especially if you're keeping a lot of plants, and plants do need to be pruned so that it encourages new growth. To remove old, dead, decaying, dying branches, you need to prune your plants. To remove pest infested branches, you need to prune your plants. So pruning is essential. And secateurs or shears are make your work very easy if you use a scissor, especially for woody branches and semi-woody branches. It becomes very difficult to work with. So now how this secateur works, this is called an anvil pruner. Okay, now an anvil pruner, first you will see here, this part here, this lever is the lock. Okay, so you just have to open the lock and then you can use your shear. Now it is very important to keep this locked at all times, because this blade here is very sharp and it can cause a lot of damage if it gets into the hands of your kids or anyone who doesn't know how to use this. This can cause damage, so be very careful. Always keep it locked like this. Okay, and this way it doesn't open. Even if you want it to open, it won't. This is the lock, very important. Okay, now I unlock it and I will show you that one side is a very sharp blade and the other side is a flat base with a groove right here. Now this acts perfect for cutting woody stems or semi-woody stems. Okay, so it is excellent at cutting such stems. I have a semi-woody stem right here. I have brought it from outside. I couldn't bring my plant in, which was too big. So now I just show you how it cuts. So you generally, when you cut very close to the node, just above the node. Okay, and give it a chop. That's it. It cuts like butter. You can see the cut is clean, and the shear made my work very easy. I didn't have to apply much force. So this is very good for cutting your woody stems or semi-woody stems. Now you may ask me, if you have softer stems, softer stem plants, what would you do? For softer stem plants, you have a different pair of shears, which is called a bypass pruner. In that, the blade will bypass each other, just like scissor does. So if you don't want to own two pairs of pruners, you can always use a scissor, a sharp pair of scissors, to cut the softer stems. So let's move on to the next tool. Okay, so the next tool is right here. This one is budding and grafting knife. Now this knife is used for bud grafting, also called chip budding. Now what we do in this kind of grafting is you use a bud instead of a twig. Okay, so this method is used for grafting roses, and is in this method what you do is, a bud is removed from the parent plant and the base of the bud is inserted beneath the bark of the stem of the plant, and from which the shoot has been cut. Okay, so now what happens in this is, you need a different set of knives for this. So this particular knife set gives you all those blades. This blade here is the grafting knife and it has a straight edge. Okay, you can see this. This here, okay, can you see this? This here is the budding knife. It has a curved edge. Okay, and you also have a blunt end for opening the bark and inserting the bud. So these three are essential for budding and grafting. Okay, for bud grafting. So this is a budding and grafting knife, and these can be closed and kept like this. It's compact and it's safe. Okay, just be careful when handling it because it's very sharp. Now this is another tool that you can keep if you are into grafting and if you like to do such things. Okay, now I move on to the, okay, you can see this. Okay, there's a small mister. Okay, you use it, this is a pressure mister. I can show you. This is the nozzle that you have to pump. Okay, when you pump this, it creates pressure, and then when I spray my plant, it evenly mists my plant. Okay, so this is how you work with it. You can use this kind of mister to mist your humidity loving plants. You can use it to clean the leaves of your plants as well. So it's very essential, especially if you have humidity loving plants like calatheas and ferns. They love to be misted. So this mister really evenly mists and gives a very fine mist. When you spray your plant, there is a nozzle that can be adjusted. You can move it to get a straight spray as well. And when you tighten it, it breaks the water, and the spray, you can mist your plants with a very fine mist. So this is a very good thing to have in your garden, especially if you are keeping plants that love being misted. Okay, so this is a mister. Now this is a 1.5 liter mister. For small pots, you can use it for your misting purposes. You wouldn't be able to water all your plants if you have many plants with this particular mister. For that, you can use a watering can. Okay, so I'll show you the watering can. Just move this. I have a plant right here to demonstrate the watering. Okay, so I'll move it like this. Yeah. Now I hope you can see this clearly. This spout of the watering can has many holes in it. You can see here, right here. So it's got multiple holes like this, and what it does is the water breaks as it falls. It doesn't fall in a single stream. What it does, it breaks up the stream, and the water falls very lightly on your plants. So I will just demonstrate that. You can see that. So this is how the water falls, and what happens is it doesn't displace the soil. This kind of planter or this kind of watering can doesn't displace your water, displace the soil, and it doesn't cause a mess. It doesn't affect delicate plants, and it is very good to water your plants even if you want to make the leaves wet, especially in the summer months, in the winter months when the air is very dry and the plants need a little bit of humidity and moisture. That is when you can use this, and you can water all your plants, and you can wet the leaves of your plants properly with this kind of watering can. Okay, this one is a 5 liter watering can, and it's easy to hold because of the two handles that are provided right here. There's one on top, there's one here, so you can easily manipulate it. Okay, there's also a lid provided so that the water doesn't fall out from the back. Okay, this lid can be shut, and then you can use this watering can with great ease. So this is another watering can that is a great and essential tool in your garden. Okay, so okay, so how do you take care of these tools now? It is essential to maintain your tools. Now you have invested in your tools, it's also important to maintain them. So I would suggest the first thing that you do is, as soon as you finish your gardening, whatever chore, whatever you have done in the garden, after you finish using your tools, it is important to immediately wash your tools and clean them. Okay, if you wash them with water, it is very important that you dry them up next. Okay, so drying them up is extremely important. You wipe them with a with a damp cloth is also fine, but then dry them with a dry cloth after that. Okay, if you don't want to completely soak and wash your tools, you can always only wipe them with a damp cloth and later wipe them off with a dry cloth. It is essential that you keep them moisture free and dry, because most of the tools that we use are metal tools and they will rust. Okay, when you store them also, it's very important that you keep them in a dry place, not a place where there's a lot of moisture where they will rust. So if you maintain your tools, if you take care of them, they will be with you for a very long time, and you won't have to buy new ones once you have invested in them. So these tools can stay with you for a very, very, very long time. Okay, now there is another thing that you need to keep in mind when you're dealing with tools. Sometimes what happens is, when you have put it in a pot where there are some pests like mealybugs and spider mites or different kinds of pests, aphids, sometimes the eggs and the tiny larvae just stick on to the tools. So if you sterilize your tools time to time, you will not have the issue of transferring pests from one pot to the other. So I will just quickly show you how you can do that. Okay, Now this here is a tool. So what I will do is I will just use some cotton and spirit. Okay, spirit is isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Now this spirit is good for sterilizing things. So I just open this bottle, take a piece of cotton, okay, soak it up, soak up a little spirit into that cotton. Okay, now what I have to do is simply just apply it all over my tools, in every possible crack and crevice of my tool. Okay, and this is how my tool is completely sterilized and free of pests. No pests will survive the rubbing alcohol, and it will all be gone, and your tools are safe to put in the next pot. Okay, so this is how you sterilize your tools. Now let's quickly move on to pots. Pots are also extremely important. They brighten up your the way you display your plant, and it makes your plant look even more grand, even more beautiful, especially if you're using it to decorate your indoors. Your plant put in a beautiful pot will always make it look even much better, and when you have guests come over, they will appreciate it much more. Plants can hold their own on their with their own beauty, but pots are also, according to me, quite important. So not only for the look of the plants, but also to every plant would have a preference of a pot, I would say. So let's quickly get into talking about these pots. Now pots come in different shapes, sizes, and they come in different colors. There are so many varieties available. There are so many materials available. So we will quickly look at a few materials like glass, like ceramic, terracotta, fiberglass, and plastic as well. So we will look at these pots quickly and we will talk about them. I'll move the camera down again. Okay, the first pot is the terracotta pot. Right. So these are terracotta pots made out of clay. Okay, they are baked, and these pots are they look really good and they give a rustic feel to your plants. So they are very pretty, and nowadays they are the rave. People are looking for terracotta pots and they love to buy terracotta pots. So they come in cute shapes and sizes, and there are big terracotta pots available also. So these are a very good option. Now the good thing about this is it is porous, okay, and the soil that you put in it will dry faster. As these pots are porous, they suck out the moisture from the soil. Okay, plants like succulents, cacti, sansevieria, zizi, all these plants don't like wet and soggy soil. They will appreciate these terracotta pots. Okay, they not only look good, they also regulate the temperature of the soil well. They, as you know, terracotta keeps cool, and it will keep the soil cool as well, especially in the summer months when it's really hot. So these pots are very good. They are natural, and the only downside I would say is they break easily, they crack easily, and if they fall, they will break, and that is a heartbreak. After you invest money into these pots, they break easily, so you have to be very careful with them. And they are slightly heavier, especially when they are wet and soaked with water, they become heavier. And if you are handling larger pots, that can be a little difficult for you. With smaller pots, the weight of it won't matter, but when there are larger pots, you have to move them, it becomes a little heavy to handle. Okay, so these are terracotta pots for you. Now we will look at ceramic pots. Okay, just pass me 1 second. Okay, this here, sorry, that took time. This here is a ceramic pot. I just got the plant out. Now this ceramic pot has another look. It is glazed, it's beautiful, the colors are stunning, and they really up the look of your plant. Okay, now because they are glazed from the outside, they do not suck the moisture out, and they trap in the moisture. So these are suited for plants that are thirsty, like the Oxalis triangularis, the Calatheas. They will love these kind of pots. and they look really good when you want to use it in your indoor decor. Now these pots are also quite heavy and they are breakable, and they are costlier compared to your regular pots. So you have to be extremely careful with them. If you want to keep ceramic pots, you have to be very careful when you handle them. Okay, so these are ceramic pots, and usually they come with a drainage hole, which is good. You can also keep a plant in a plastic pot like this. Now if you're worried about the ceramic pot being very heavy, you can plant your plants in plastic pots like this and then plonk them inside. Okay, this way if I want to move my plant, I can just simply remove this and put another plant in its place. So this makes it very easy for me to move my plant, since plastic is quite light and I don't have to keep moving the ceramic around too many times. So this is one thing that you can keep in mind with these ceramic pots. Okay, now here we have a very stunning looking metallic planter. Okay, you can see this. It's a very stunning looking a red one with bright white polka dots, and this is a railing planter. You can see the hooks behind. This goes into any grill or railing, and you can keep your plants in this like this, and they will fall out. You can keep trailing plants and vining plants, flowering plants which will bloom in a basket like this. Okay, so they are great to look at. They come painted in vibrant colors and interesting patterns, and they are durable, they are quite strong. Okay, now some things you will need to look out are that metal may heat up a lot in strong sunlight, so you need to keep that in mind. If you're getting direct sunlight, it may heat up and the soil may heat up, which may not be good for the plant that you've planted in it. Okay, so what you can do again is this. You can fill this pot with your plastic pot, okay, and that way your planters can look good. Okay, so this is how you can fill it up. Simply fill it up. It's easy. You can change the pots that are inside. You can keep changing it according to your fancy. So this is very convenient to do. Also, one more thing that you can do is, thing that you need to keep in mind is that eventually if the metal chips, the paint chips, sorry, and the metal is exposed to water, some planters may rust. So be very careful that you choose a good quality planter that is rust free. And if you are still having a doubt about the planter rusting or not, you can just line it with plastic so that the water doesn't go down, and eventually on and off occasionally you will have to empty that water out. Or you can keep it in a dry place where there's not too much rain falling. Then this planter will survive longer. So if you keep these things in mind, then you can work with this planter and they look really, really good. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Glass planters. Okay, so these also look really stunning because you can see through and through. And now these, if you can use them especially if you're looking to use different layers of gravel or sand, you want to display that or make a decorative display for your plant, where you have different layers or different colored sand, and then you put your plant in. That is perfect for a glass planter. Otherwise a glass planter will not have any show. So if you're planning to do something with a soil substrate, make layers or make a terrarium, that is when you use glass planters. Okay, now these glass planters usually come without drainage holes. There are no holes, and you need to be careful how you water them. So if you're watering them, you water very lightly, you put in very little water, because the water has no way to escape. If there is excess water, it will not escape and it will stay in your pot, making the roots soggy and the plant might be affected. So remember to water very lightly, especially when the pot doesn't have any drainage holes. Okay. Okay, now we'll quickly talk about plastic pots and fiber pots also. Okay, these are fiberglass pots and these are plastic pots. So as you can see them, they come in multiple colors. They are vibrant. There is a color choice for each person. Okay, and they look pretty nice. These are fabric pots. These usually come without drainage holes, but there is an option for you to poke a hole. It's very easy to poke a hole with a sharp object in these pots, because they have even given you this circular thing for you to poke the hole easily. Okay, so if you're planting directly inside the spot, you can poke a hole and ensure that there is water drainage, or you can simply keep your pot in like this. This looks good, has a good finish, a feel, and it is very light. It is not breakable, it is very durable, it doesn't scratch easily. So these pots are a very good choice. They also come in different colors. You can see there are many beautiful colors in this, and there is a choice for everybody. Okay, as you can see, it's all right here. So there are many different colors to choose from, and these fiber pots are quite hardy. And if you're moving your pots around many times, then these pots are a good choice. If you have kids in the house or pets in the house, you don't need to worry about the pot falling and breaking. So this is a good choice. Now plastic pots. Okay, so people always have fear related to plastic pots about it being harmful for the environment, but there are some good things about plastic pots as well. They're very light, they are cheap, they are not expensive, they come with good amount of drainage holes, and like I said, I also like to put my plants in plastic pots like this, and then put them into a more decorative pot. So it gives me great ease to move my pots around. Sometimes I need to take my plants to the balcony after displaying them in the hall for some time. So what happens is, I just simply have to take this plastic pot out and keep it in the balcony, and bring another pot in and put it in my ceramic pot. So the ceramic pot acts as a display, and the plastic pot acts as a carrier that my plant can travel in and out without creating a great mess, without having me to move heavy pots in and out. So it is extremely useful. I find these useful. Now plastic is not good for the environment, that's right, but if you are planning to dispose this off after using it for a while, then it's bad. But if you keep reusing it and recycling it, then that's okay. You will not need to buy too many, you just have to recycle and reuse them. Okay, so these are a great option. Now here is a coconut fiber pot. Okay, so these are mainly used as seed starters. Now these are biodegradable, and you can plant your sapling inside it. The sapling will grow. You can easily transplant it. If you don't want to remove this pot, you can transplant it directly into a bigger pot with soil in it, and the pot will remain for a while, and then eventually it will decompose, and you don't even have to have the trouble of removing the plant from it. So it is very easy for transplanting. So it's a good choice if you want to start saplings or small seeds. Okay. So now there's one very important thing that I need to tell you is, if there aren't any drainage holes. Okay, now we will talk about drainage holes. Drainage holes are extremely important for plants. Every pot must have a drainage hole, because plants don't like sitting in water. They don't like remaining soggy. The roots becoming soggy will cause root rot, and your plant will eventually die. So there is a high chance of overwatering, especially if you have pots that don't have drainage holes. Now pots that don't have drainage holes, you can just simply like this one I said, it doesn't have a drainage hole. Simply do this, putting another pot inside it, and that way you can use these pots. Okay. So you don't have to worry. But if there is a way for you to make a drainage hole and you want to plant directly in it, please go ahead, make a drainage hole in the pot. But certain glass pots and certain ceramics, you will not be able to make a hole easily. For ceramics, there are some drills available, drill bits, which you can drill a hole in ceramic pots. But not always everyone will have that handy, and you might not be able to make a drainage hole. So just be very careful with the watering if you are planting directly into that pot. I would suggest always put it in another plastic pot and put it inside that pot. In case of a terrarium, water very lightly. So these are things that you need to keep in mind, especially about drainage holes, because pots For pots, drainage holes are extremely important. Okay, if you want to keep your plant healthy and surviving. Okay, I hope that you like this session. I would appreciate it if you will like, share and subscribe to Nursery Live on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. And if you make a garden of your own, do share your pictures with us and tag us also, as it will be great fun for us to see your pictures. And I hope you enjoy gardening, and I hope you have learned something from this session. And I will see you soon. Until then, keep planting happiness. Now, I have a little time to take a few questions, if there are any questions. There are questions? Just give me a second. I'll just try to see the questions. Where is it? Okay, fine. The questions are right there on my monitor, so I will read it from there and then I will answer it to you. Can we just scroll? Okay. Okay. So Shweta Kanse is asking me, my succulents are dying. I'm not sure what wrong I'm doing. Secondly, can we spray water on jade plants? Now, jade as an elephant bush, right? We will talk about it. Succulents do not like water collecting on their leaves. Succulents dislike, because all fleshy leaved plants, every plant, you look at the plant and you see if the leaves are fleshy, the stem is fleshy, or there are tubers, these plants will dislike extra water. So always hold back on the watering with such plants, and succulents fall into that category. Jade even falls into that category. Now I have an elephant bush of jade which I water from the top. The leaves do get wet when I water it, but it has a lot of sunlight falling on it. So the uptake of the plant that the water that it takes up is very high. So that's why it doesn't bother when I put water on its leaves, and the water evaporates as well. Okay, now if your plant is not getting that much sunlight and you are watering it heavily, the plant will eventually rot. It will start dropping its leaves and it will die. So you have to be very careful with succulent like plants. Especially succulents, I would suggest bottom watering is a good idea. Do not pour water on top. Bottom watering. Fill the tray or the pot plate with water. Oh, I forgot to show the pot plates. Sorry guys, I just forgot to show the pot plates. These are also essential equipment for your garden. Now even bottom, like I was talking about bottom watering, the plate sits under the plant like this. Okay, I put my water in the plate and the plant sucks the water from the bottom, so the leaves remain dry. So for succulents, bottom watering is a very good idea. Okay, these pot plates also keep your surfaces dry. When the water drains out, it catches all the water in it. So these plates are very essential. Most of my plants have these plates, and it keeps the mess away. So this is another thing I forgot to mention. Okay, let me see if there are more questions. Okay, tips for flowering jasmine plant or for flowering any plant for that matter. You have to give them fertilizers and a lot of sun. Okay, a boost of fertilizer will push your plant to flower. So that is one thing. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to find more questions. Okay, Ajay Lalotra is asking me, tell me names of indoor plants. Now there are many indoor plants available. Now indoor depends on how much light is coming indoors. Now all plants need light, so the light that is coming indoors will tell you what kind of plant you can keep. Now one more thing you need to keep in mind is, in your house the humidity may be less, because if there's an AC running, there's fan running continuously, the humidity will be less. So plants that love humidity, you have to be careful that you give them humidity within that spot. Like you can set up humidity trays, you can mist them often, and make them feel happy inside. Now I will give you a few names quickly. The best plants that I would say will do well indoors even in low light conditions and lack of humidity are the Aglaonema varieties, the ZZ, Zamioculcas zamifolia, the Sansevieria varieties, the snake plants, and so many others. Like I can think of Calatheas also will do well, but you need to increase the humidity a lot. Okay. Now in my balcony, I keep all my other plants. Only the plants that are very hardy, like many varieties of Aglaonemas and all, go indoors. Okay. So think and select your plants for your indoor places. Even certain plants like the palm will do well indoors. So there are a lot of options. I mean, I'll have to really sit and think of what all names I can give you. Okay, next question. Okay, Bhaskara is asking what is the use of the holes under the pot. Like I said before, it is important for drainage. Now when I keep watering my plant like this, what happens is sometimes I pour in more water. The water will go and collect here in the bottom. Okay, this is where the roots are at, and when the roots are sitting in that excess water in the bottom 1 inch, what happens is the roots start becoming mushy and they start rotting. So the best thing is that the excess water flows out from the bottom and the soil substrate soaks only as much water as it needs. It is completely saturated, completely wet, the extra water goes out, and then my plant won't get root rot. So always ensure that these holes are not blocked by stone or blocked by anything and the water flows out without anything stopping it. Even sometimes the roots grow out and they block these holes. So you can just put a sharp object and poke those holes and ensure that the bottom drainage holes are always free for the water to drain out. Okay, so that's very important for the plants. Okay, does the plant die when we transfer a plant from one plastic pot to another plastic pot? Now, that is okay. Now, if you do it in a very rough way and the plants get root shock, the roots are shocked, they do get transplanting shock sometimes, and the plants will be harmed. Sometimes they may die as well. So you have to be very gentle when you are handling the roots, especially of delicate plants like begonias, the ones that are sitting right behind there. So you have to be very careful when you are transplanting. Now, if you transplant from one plastic pot to a very big plastic pot, again the plant will be stressed out. So always move only 1 inch bigger. Don't go from small to very big. Go from small to a little bigger and then keep moving as the roots keep filling the pot. So you don't have to put your plant in a very big pot. Always the pot should be smaller than the plant. So I'm fond of ferns. How many ferns are available? There are many types of ferns that are available. The easy to care for are the Nephrolyssus exaltata, which is the Boston fern. It's very easy to care for. The one that is sitting behind there is the cobra fern. It is a little more exotic and it is a little more difficult to care for, prone to pests. And there are amazing varieties of ferns. Just one thing that you need to keep in mind with ferns is that you have to keep the place very humid and you have to keep misting them, water them frequently, especially in the dry months when the monsoon is over. You ensure that they get watered almost every day depending on how much sunlight your plant is getting. Okay, too much harsh sunlight will burn the ferns also. So they like shady areas. How to grow succulents, how to propagate succulents. Okay, succulents need a drier soil mix. They need watering from the bottom. Don't get their leaves wet. These are a few tips you need to keep in mind, and give them good bright light. Without light, the succulents will not grow as well. They are used to a good deal of morning sunlight. Maybe harsher sunlight will stress them out. They may become red, the colors may come out, but the plants might get stressed with very harsh sunlight. So you give them mild morning sunlight, bright light, and keep them dry. Water them less, because the leaves are already holding a lot of water. But don't underwater them as well. They will start crumpling and crinkling. So you have to find the right schedule, because where you are, the way the water, the plant uptakes water will be different based on the season, the climate, the airflow, and so many other things. So find a correct schedule for your succulent. To propagate succulents, they're very easy to propagate. You can either propagate them from the pups that grow under them, or you can propagate them from the leaf. What you have to do is, when the leaf drops, or you can pluck the bottom leaves off and place it on a tray of soil. Just place them flat on the tray of soil, and mist them regularly. Okay, so after some time, you will see at the base, you will find a baby succulent growing there from the leaf. So it's very easy to propagate, but ensure that you keep an eye on them. Don't let them dry out too much, otherwise they will not grow new pups. So that is how you can propagate your succulents. I think I'm out of time, guys, and I hope you have enjoyed this session, and I hope I've answered some questions. I will see you soon. Till then, bye-bye.